Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Plaistow Board of Selectmen meeting for May 24th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 PM. Beth, can I have a roll call, please?
Acting Chair, Mr. Glenn.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Talion.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Coy.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Britton.
Here.
And please note for the record, we have Town Manager, Mr. Pearson, and Assistant Town Manager, Finance Director, Mr. Colby, joining us remotely. And also tonight, we have people from the Conservation Commission, Chair Jill Center, and Vice Chair Tim Moore.
Okay. Would you all please stand with do the Pledge of Allegiance? Al, would you like to start that?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Board of Selectmen, in accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, is authorized to meet electronically. The BOS is utilizing the Zoom program for electronic meetings. During these meetings, all members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting, and the public has access. See, they put that in there twice. Contemporaneously listen to the meeting. The link to these electronic meetings is provided on the town website. The public may call in for comments during the public comment portion of the agenda at 603-382-5200, extension 290. Watch the meeting on cable TV, channel 17, or live stream the meeting at livestream.com, Plaistow Meetings. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question by email, please email Beth at bhossack@plaistow.com. Questions and comments received by 3 o'clock that afternoon, the day of the BOS meeting, will be read at that meeting. Our first item is to approve the minutes of the May 17th meeting. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion made. I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes 5, excuse me? You're abstaining? Okay. That motion passes 410. 401, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, at this time, I would like to make a motion to appoint Darrell Britton, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Yeah, opposed.
Abstain? Guess there's nobody there. Motion passes 4-1 to 0. Joe, would you like to take over?
Okay. Louis Clements. Item 5 is any public comments, if there are any.
Is Darrell going to read
There
this?
is one email that was received that needs to be read
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
in the packet.
Yeah, in the packet, there
Oh,
should be an
okay.
email.
Yeah, so wait. And this is just kind of an outline. We did this out of order, so that's already done.
This is a letter from Francine Hart. Yeah, I've just got to dig it out of my pile right here. And I'll read the letter. This is an open letter to the Board of Selectmen. Dear Board, at my last official meeting as Select Chair, I stated that you had raised the bar on what it meant to be a selectman in the town of Plaistow. In less than 3 short months, you have managed not only to rip the bar down, but drag it through the mud all the way back to the 1980s version of Selectmen. Last Monday, I listened to the removal of a just elected chair for gross negligence.
Not for gross
Not for gross negligence, sorry. Not for failure to follow his oath of office, not even for violating the law, but rather for 2 of the lamest excuses I have ever heard of. There was personal and clearly confidential information leaked to the press. This is the world of difference between hiding information and protecting an employee's reputation until all the facts have come out and the result of the investigation concluded. The fact that you cannot tell the difference is disturbing, to say the least, and only furthers the distrust many citizens have for the elected officials. It is my sincere hope none of you are ever in the receiving end of this kind of witch hunt. As to this rather flimsy argument, the board was not notified about the post-Kane award. I would ask any of you who planned on attending, given the fact that it was awarded at 2 p.m. on a Monday afternoon by the request of the recipient. If your concerns are timely notification, there are ways to address the issue, particularly since none of you had the authority over how the personal matters are handled in the first place. I am frankly ashamed of the 4 of you for reacting emotionally without thoroughly vetting the facts, and what appears to clearly be a coordinated attempt at backdoor clandestine politics as usual. I thought those meetings behind the cover of darkness was over. The boys of the 80s would be so proud. Whatever happened to the open and transparent government? Was that just lip service to get elected, or did you go out the window along with the honesty and integrity as soon as the ballots were counted? It is my humble and experienced opinion that you all need to review not just the oath of office, but the statutes that govern the town manager form of government. You were elected to serve the town and its citizens, not your egos. You are charged with making decisions based on both sides of the issues objectively and in the best interest of the town as a whole. You are also charged with following the law, whether that you agree with it or not, and contrary to what some may think, none of you are above it. Your rash and foolish decision to remove the only qualified man recently working for the betterment of the town will have lasting and far-reaching effects, long after you are voted out of office. There are many critical decisions facing the board in the upcoming months. The real question is, how do each one of you want to be remembered in the history books, as a person of integrity or just another slick politician? Respectively, Francine Hart, former chair, BOS. Okay, the next item I have at 6:35 was the introduction of the new Recreation Commission member. Somebody would like to come up and introduce?
Hello, I'm Jen Gessler, the rec director,
And I have Tina Dufresne here with me today. She's the newest Rec Commission member. She has something she'd like to say as to why she's joining and choosing to be part of our commission.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tina Dufresne. How are you? So I decided to become part of Rec Commission mainly because it's a stepping stone for me to get involved in our community, which I'm really interested in doing. I do have a son who is in youth sports, in recreation, loves it all, so I want to be involved with him. And I feel that volunteering is such a huge part of being part of your community, and Rec can do that, and I hope to be an asset to our community through that.
Well, it's great to have you aboard.
Thank you.
And I will say one thing, Tina, since she hopped on as an alternate, she's jumped right in and helped out. She's got the can-do attitude, which is great.
How great.
It's going to be a big help.
Thank you.
Well, Tina, it's going to be a lot of work, so get ready.
All right, I'm ready.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you,
volunteering.
Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair? I think Mr. Pearson wanted to mention something before we got too far into the meeting.
Okay. Mark, you got the floor.
Yes. So later on, when I do my town manager's report, there's going to be a section talking about the trash and recycling. And I just wanted to know ahead of time if the board was okay with a PowerPoint presentation so that the public could actually see what it is that we're talking about. And the reason why I ask now is so I can make arrangements for DeVos to come in, a little bit later in the meeting and actually conduct that PowerPoint presentation. So I just want to know if the board is amenable to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have a public hearing, buying property. Do we have the paperwork for that, Beth?
It's not specific paperwork. You just want to open the public hearing.
Okay.
Mr. Moore and Ms. Center are on if anyone has questions for the Conservation Commission. It's the property that abuts the town forest.
Okay. So we will open up the public hearing. Does anybody have any comments on that? Jill, Tim?
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now we can.
Okay, well, the Conservation Commission wants to purchase some property that abuts the town forest on the Atkinson line. The homeowner's home is in Atkinson, but his back property is in Plaistow. And several years ago, we tried to purchase this land and the homeowner wasn't amenable to that at that time. And the new homeowner has come forth and offered us 4.332 acres. And we would very much like to purchase this land and add it to the town forest.
And has the price been established, Jill?
We already
The
approved.
price has been established. I didn't know whether we would be saying that at a
No,
public hearing.
I'm not asking to divulge it at this point. just-
Yeah, we're all set to go. They're just waiting to hear. They've already done a lot line adjustment with the town, and we're just waiting for the final paperwork.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have some concerns? Jay?
I don't have any concerns, just a question. So once we wait for that, what are the next steps? Is there a warrant article that we need to put forward for this?
No, Conservation
Okay.
Commission is permitted through the RSA's to permit it to buy land, and this land will be added to the town forest. It has trails going through it already, which is a bonus, and that's part of the reason we wanted to obtain this property. It'll be added to the town forest, and that will be put in a warrant article to add to the town forest next March, but for now, we can purchase the land without a warrant article, we just need 2 public hearings.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello?
I have a comment when the comment is open.
Public comment?
Jill, we have a comment coming in,
Okay?
which you might be able to help with.
Okay, go ahead.
So, why can we not divulge what the purchase price is? And quite frankly, is the current property on the tax rolls with the city? Will tax revenue be lost as a result? And what is the justification for needing to add more land to that?
We need name and address, please.
Ask him his name.
We need a name and an address.
Could you state your name and address for us, please?
Brian LeBrecq, 174 Main Street.
Ryan Lebrecht, 174 Main Street?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, Jill.
I couldn't hear the question.
He was inquiring about, is it on the tax rolls in the town now? Are we gonna lose any taxes by this? And he wanted to know what the sale price was.
It is on the tax roll because this homeowner pays Plaistow tax on this property. So it is on the tax roll. Releasing the amount since we haven't actually signed the purchase and sales agreement yet. And we can't do that until after the public hearing, so, but, with the reason we want to add it to the town forest is we want to preserve that section of town as much as possible, and if we can add to it and continue to grow that forest, that's beneficial to the public now and in the future.
Did you hear that?
So we're asking for the public to support the purchase of a piece of property without knowing what the value that the town's gonna pay for it. Sounds like a blank check. And it's to add to land that is already large enough, in my opinion, to support, the uses necessary or desired for the town forest. So in my opinion, I don't think it's worth buying any additional property in town, and certainly we should sell all the property that we possibly can as well, given our tax situation.
Well, I think there's a couple of things in play here. Nobody's going to buy anything until after the public hearing and the amount of the cost of the property is exposed to all the people. So there's nothing being done behind the doors here. Nothing's being spent without the public knowing.
Well, if that's the case, I mean, she indicated that the price wouldn't be divulged until a purchase and sale agreement was signed. To me, that would mean that would be after the decision to actually buy it occurred.
But that purchase and sale could be written up so it's contingent upon the town approving it.
All right, well, I'd just like to register my formal opinion that I disagree and we should sell property, not be buying property. Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jill, can you explain what the town has to do to approve the sale? You basically said that this property can be purchased without a warrant article. How is it actually approved by the town? I think the caller was trying to get to that.
Well, the Board of Selectmen has to have 2 public hearings, and the Conservation Commission holds a public hearing, which I think we're piggybacking onto your second public hearing. And then the contract is drawn up and the selectmen decide to purchase the land and the conservation, then I believe once the contract is drawn up, then the town manager signs it and we're good to go.
So
The
this
money
is,
for this, I should say, is coming from the Conservation Fund, which for over 10 years, the public, through annual meeting, voted to put $10,000 away every year for over 10 years to raise money for the purchase of future land buys under conservation. And this money is coming from that. It was already raised through taxation. It's not costing anything new. The money has been in an interest-bearing account for well over 20 years.
thank you, Jill. So to answer the caller's question, the land sale contract will be approved by the Board of Selectmen, which the town of Plaistow has given the authority to either purchase or sell land. So I think
believe
that
that's
hopefully
correct.
will answer his question. Thank you, Jill.
Jay?
And Jill, can you talk a little bit about the land? Is it landlocked within the town forest and other properties?
It will be landlocked. It's the back portion of this man's lot, and he can't subdivide it and sell it because it would be landlocked. It'll add to the town forest. It has a trail system through it that's been there for numerous amount of years, and it adds to the trail system that conservation has worked with Southeast Land Trust and Snowhawk Trail Planning to develop a plan for trail systems throughout the forest. And this corner, 4 acres, is part of that trail system plan, and it's beneficial to the town forest, and it completes part of a picture we were trying to put together back when we did the easement on the town forest in 2013.
Thank you, Jill.
Bill?
I was just looking back some of our past minutes. If you look for our minutes from April 12th, we actually voted on this. And we approved it.
Yes, but you have to have you have to have public hearings, the RSA says.
Right, no, I get that, but I'm saying we voted on it, and actually the price is in there from the motion.
Right.
So it's exposed.
Right, it's out there.
Anyone else? Anything, Jill? Tim?
I'm good.
Okay. I'm going to close this public hearing if no one has any other comments. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
6:45. Next thing up is the public hearing. I'm going to open a public hearing for the sale of a piece of property. And does anybody have any comment on that? That would be the Rose Ave that we talked about.
Right.
And I do have a letter here from an abutter that I will read. You are receiving this letter because you own property that abuts the property.
That's not from the abutter. That's from the auctioneer.
The auctioneer?
To the abutter.
Oh, okay, to the abutter. Then I'll read that letter to the abutter.
Answer this?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Dear abutter, you are receiving this letter because your property that abuts the property of the town of Plaistow is selling at public auction on Friday, June 18th, 2021, beginning at 4 p.m. The sale will be held on-site at 13 Rose Ave, Plaistow, New Hampshire. Enclosed with this letter is a brochure detailing the offering and the terms and conditions of the sale. If you have any questions or concerns about the parcel or the auction process, please do not hesitate to call this office. We hope to see you at the sale. And that's from James R. St. Jean. Is there any comment on that? Anybody have any more they want to add to that?
I just have a question, and maybe Beth can answer this. In the past, when we've done this, or maybe the town manager can, have we promoted this on our webpage or anything like that, or sent it out in like an email blast? I know there's other advertising going on, but is that something that we've done in the past?
Mark, can you answer that?
Yes. I'm not sure that we have, but we certainly can put the St. Jean advertisement on our website or put a link to it and also do that. So I just can't answer if we've done that in the past or not.
Okay, well, that'd be great if we could do that now, so, thank you.
Good idea. Anyone else? And I'll close this public hearing at 6:56. Now, we want to do a special thank you to Michelle Curran and Dave Hansberry. Michelle Curran for planting the flowers and geraniums for Memorial Day event. She has been doing this for many, many years. She will probably be in attendance. Please call her up to get the certificate. Please provide a thank you also, and a big thank you for Dave Hansberry, president of Joseph Hills Agency, for donating money from the company to purchase the flowers for Memorial Day. Thank you both very much. The town really appreciates that. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Hansberry at Hills Insurance and to Michelle Curran, who's, I think she's done that for a few years, many years now, where she's planting flowers around the green. So
Very nice.
thank you for the donation and the donation of your time.
Yeah, I too want to thank Dave Hansberry and Michelle Curran. Thank you. Couldn't come at a better time. Thank you.
Okay. Got a couple of minutes before we start our 7 o'clock public hearing. Anybody have anything else that they want to discuss before we open up the public hearing?
You can go to the next item, and then after the time period expires at 7 o'clock, you can come back to it. So if you want to.
Oh, the Old Home Day, thank you. Yep. Okay, the Old Home Day donations. Haley Bush.
Hi, Haley.
Hi, Haley.
Hi, Haley.
Hi, so I wanted to come down here and give a quick update as far as where we're at with donations and what we have planned for Old Home Day. Recently, the field usage form was approved for us to be able to use park. Our date has been announced, our vendor application has been released. 106 donation letters have went out. We've followed up with around 41 so far. It's turning out really good. We're getting really, really good
Oh, terrific.
Perfect.
feedback from it. So I think we're probably gonna send out another batch and follow up with those, but I'm very happy with how it's turning out so far. Let's see. We lowered our vendor fees, so we did raise it this year from 50 to 75 for one space and 100 to 125 for two spaces, and it didn't turn out right. Everyone thought that was a little too much money, so we voted last meeting to lower that. So it's back to $50 for one space and $75 for two spaces, and you can apply right online on our website for that. We voted last week to have all our raffle proceeds to continue to go to Holy Angels Food Pantry. We're going to have a road race this year. Bob Fairhurst from the Lions has approved the road race with the police. The route is finalized, and we are just waiting on the highway department because portions of the road race are on 125, so he needs approval to make sure we can get our runners on there for a portion of the race.
Whereabouts, Haley? On one.
Honestly, I haven't seen the map. I'm assuming it's 125 going into Old County right there.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have to be on that side, right there, because the race would probably begin and end right at Park.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, honestly, I haven't seen the map yet, but I can get that to you. So entertainment, we do have a band coming free of charge, and the name is the Time Bandits. We have a gentleman coming with a rock wall and a trampoline jump. He's actually been here on the green for many years over on the back road there. So we're going to see if we can continue to have him on the, like the parking lot portion of Park. The YMCA is going to have events all day. Bill had brought up at our last meeting to possibly have a softball, baseball game. I know the police and fire used to do that, and that was huge, so we can look into that again. Fireworks, I did talk to the fire department, and we cannot hold them at Park due to the close proximity of the people on Carly's Way, but they are more than happy that when we raise the money to have them at the high school, so that's our plan.
Very good.
So that's all our updates, but I did have some questions that I've raised with some people that told me that I should bring it up with the selectmen. The first thing is citizen donations. So we've had some people that don't necessarily own a business in town that would want to contribute to Old Home Day. And I want to go about this legally, and I want to be able to do it right, and I'm just unsure how to. It's not something I want to shove down the town's face and be like, hey, we need money, we need money. It's just an option that if someone that, this has been tradition for their family so long, they want to contribute, I want to be able to do that through either the town's website or the Old Home Day website. So that might be a question for Greg, but I know before Jim Peck was involved with the vendors, we did online vendor fees through the town clerk. So they would go online to the town's website, and the money from that would go to the town clerk, and then Jim got involved and he set up a PayPal for the Historical Society.
I think in a previous meeting not long ago, we talked to Greg Colby about how that was going to filter through. And Greg, are you still on board?
Yes, I'm still on board.
You explained to us before how donations would come in and how that was going to work.
Correct.
Could you explain that again to Haley?
Well, I mean, Haley, you just mentioned being able to do it online or the like. The only thing that I'm thinking of at this point that we could do is work with the recreation director. They do have the ability where they collect, fees online through MyRec, and maybe we talk to the recreation director and we can work out a way for people to go on to MyRec and pay a donation that way. If you want to send me an email or some contact information, and we can talk with Jen about that, this week.
Greg, is that something you could possibly put through the revolving fund? Is that what you're thinking?
No,
I didn't think you could, right?
No, we can't, but it's, it's one way of accepting a donation by way of people doing it online. The only other way, obviously, is, they could write out a check and, send it into the town, or, the Old Home Day Committee could collect them and, turn them all in at the same time, or turn them in on a weekly basis.
Would there be any possibility if we, probably not, but would there be any possibility that they could pay online and it go to the Historical Society like the vendor fees do? Or no, because the Historical Society keeps it, right?
No, these are meant to be donations, correct, to the
Yes.
operating costs of Old Home Day. So
Okay.
I would say no.
Okay. So I'll send you an email, maybe we can set something up and figure it out, okay.
Yep.
So I do have some donations in hand, I know you guys have to approve them. The committee member that did some following up, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Okay, just want to have a clarification. The trust fund that we currently have for Old Home Day, I believe the wordage says that you can put donations into it. So Greg Colby, are you saying that we cannot do that?
No, what I am saying is the board would choose to accept and expend those donations for the current year. That was my understanding that would be done. Then theoretically, what you could do is any donations that are over and above the cost of Old Home Day could then be put and transferred over to the trust fund next
Okay.
March.
All right, thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Okay. So I do have some donations so far. I have 3 of them. 2 of them might be an issue because they're cash donations. So I don't exactly know how to handle those. I'm always used to checks, and we don't really fundraise often, so I'm not sure how to handle these, Greg. And another one I have is an actual check.
Well, can you come in tomorrow and drop them off?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
But I know these, is there a certain amount that the board has to approve? Do you have to approve all of them? Because, one's for 20, one's for 40.
I believe the amount is somewhere along the lines of 5,000. I could be wrong, but I think that's the number.
Okay.
I don't know, Mark or Greg might have a better understanding of that.
Okay. And Greg, I can give you this check too?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
And perhaps before it's all said and done, we can take a vote on the amount there is, a one-time vote.
Oh, okay. So our next meeting is June 6th at 7 right here at the Town Hall. It's a Sunday. There is 2 more things I wanted to bring up as far as Old Home Day goes. I know that things are kind of crazy right now with the whole masks and the CDC. I know August is also far away and things are lifting up. Is it going to be required because it's a town event that we have to wear masks? Are we not sure yet?
We're not sure yet. I think that the health department has said, the Plaistow Health Department has said they're going to reevaluate everything in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
So let's see where we stand in about 3 weeks.
Okay. And also, I had talked to Greg about this, of possibly having a warrant article that maybe in the future, the Old Home Day Committee can keep the Plaistow, the vendor fees, starting next year.
Well, you certainly can put one in and,
Okay,
we'll
just mentioning it.
put it on the ballot. If you get the signatures and everything we have to do, then,
Okay. And I also have a list of all the businesses. I only have 1 copy, but if anyone would like to see it, I'll just leave it here with you guys if you want to take a
thank you.
peek and see. That's all I have.
Thank you, Haley.
I'm sorry?
Is that a list of businesses you've already approached, or?
So the first 41 on this list have been followed up with, but every single business on this list has been mailed a letter.
Okay.
Do you want it?
Yes, please.
He'll harass them.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Haley.
Thanks, Haley.
Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we're a little late on the 7 PM public hearing for, geez, my glass keeps fogging up here, hold on. Discretionary preservation easement. And the BOS can listen to the public input on the subject. However, the BOS can decide to do this or decide not to do it. The other option is consider it in the future as it is a complex issue. Any of you may need more time to reevaluate. The public hearing must always be open and closed, announcing the thing. So I am announcing the opening of this public hearing.
Somebody needs to answer that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello?
Hi, this is Ryan LeBrecq, 174 Main Street.
Hi, Ryan.
I'd like to comment on the barn easement.
All right.
Shall I go?
Go right ahead.
All right, thanks. So I submitted an application for a barn easement to my property at 174 Main Street. I have a house that was built in 1832. The barn was built with reclaimed lumber back in the day in 1832. So likely lumber from the 1700s from a even older barn. While the exterior of the barn has been upgraded over the years by previous owners, unfortunately in a way with vinyl siding, the interior remains original, exposed timbers, all exposed lumber, wide board, etc. Basically, it's on a fieldstone foundation, and I continue to add work to it going forward to keep it alive and well, and like my house, preserve it for hopefully hundreds more years. So I'm asking that this barn preservation easement program, which is available and utilized in many other towns throughout New Hampshire, be utilized in Plaistow as well in order to preserve or help preserve existing historic structures, historic farm structures, etc. So basically, my property, from what I understand, a little bit of research I've done, there's neighborhoods behind, and those neighborhoods were likely built in the 50s and up, and prior to that, it was all farmland, and this was one of the farmhouses and barns that was used by the farmers back in the day to farm the land. So I'd like to keep that alive.
Do you have any idea what the percentage of remodeling of that barn is over what was there presently, what was there previously when it was built? Is it 50%, 60%, 5%?
It's probably 5%. I mean, it's got a new roof and newer roof, and it's got siding on it, vinyl siding on it. But other than that, the rest of it is original.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have any questions on this? Yeah, Jay.
Go ahead, John.
I was just wondering, do we have a percentage of what the tax rebate would be?
So what I read through this documentation that the town manager provided was there's a lower end of 25% of the assessed value of the barn itself, or upwards of 75%. So in looking at it, there's 4 areas or 4 specific points where what you consider a qualifying structure. And I could read the whole thing, but basically there is a scenic enjoyment of the structure by the general public from a public way or from public waters. The structure is historically important on a local, regional, state, or national level, either independently or within the historic district. The structure's physical and aesthetic features contribute to the historic or cultural integrity of the property listed on or determined eligible for listing on the National Registry of Historic Places, the State Register of Historic Places, and locally designated historic district. So actually, those are three specific items. So I guess, Mr. LeBrecq, is your house or barn registered with like the Historical Society or the New Hampshire State, Historical Registry by any chance?
That I'm not aware. Is it a prominent historic structure in the town of Plaistow? Absolutely. It's on Main Street. It's part of the fabric of the town. Before the town changed significantly over the years, it predates the vast majority of structures in town, including town hall, and it's definitely a structure that paints a picture of a time gone by for sure, and it'd be a shame if that structure was torn down, which right now it could technically be, but I don't have any intention to do that. That doesn't mean future buyers wouldn't.
Okay, any other questions?
Was this applied for before April 15th? Was there a form submitted according to RSA 79-D:4(2) stating that Has to be delivered and applied to the governing body before April 15th of the tax year on a form provided by the Commissioner or the Department of Revenue Accounting. Do you know that that's the case?
It went to the assessing department,
Before April 15th?
yes.
It looks like
Okay.
it was dated 4/2.
Good,
Right.
good. Also, I'd like to make a point that this is a long, it's minimum 10 years. So if we grant this, this will be held for 10 years. So it's not just a one-year type thing. If we do this, it's a 10-year reduction in the person's taxes or assessment.
Yeah, I believe and also in the agreement, you can stipulate an automatic renewal or just have it expire, and then the resident would have to reapply for that.
Was that
after.
every 5 years or every 10 years?
It's 10.
No, it's 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it says minimum.
Yes, Jay?
Mr. Pearson, I don't know if you can answer this. Can we find out from Mary Beth what the assessed value is on the actual barn itself? I was trying to find a dollar amount just on the barn to see what the value was, because if we were to approve this, it would only be on that building.
So because this is a public hearing, I think we should be listening to anybody who has comment about this. And I agree with Jay that we need to be able to get all the facts before we do an actual deliberation on this.
Well, I've asked for public comment, and
Yep.
nobody's come forward yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anybody
I
online,
withdraw
Dean?
my question.
Go right ahead.
So I just would like to say, I think to me it's a decision as to, whether the town feels it supports keep historic structures in place in town, or whether they feel that it's not an important issue and really would rather see new structures that'll probably last a quarter of the time and be torn down prior to structures like this that have stood the test of time. Like I said, this structure, as well as my house in general, it predates most structures in town, probably all structures associated with town government. And, this and other structures in town like it should be given some preference to motivate sellers to keep them the way they are, in the sense of not tear them down, not modify them heavily, keep them alive, but keep them available for the public display, especially on Main Street.
Well, we will certainly pass that along and see, once we have all the information, what we can do with it.
Mark's got his hand raised.
Mark, go ahead.
I'm prepared to answer Selectman DeRosa's question. On the last page of the package that I have, it shows the frame garage, 720 square feet, with a value of $28,900. Do you have the same page I have?
I do, and that was I wasn't sure what that value was, if that was specific to the property, so thank you for
On his
clarifying.
application, he has what I thought to be 700, but it's a little bit unclear. It looks a little bit like a correction on there, so I wasn't sure if that was 700 or 720, but the more I look at it and look at the sheet, I think he put down 720, which matches up with the assessment sheet.
Yeah, it's a square footage.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pearson.
Any other comments? If none,
Chair?
yes.
So the other question I have is, do we know whether or not the town has already done this to other bonds? Or would this be a first bond that we would do this to and thus set a precedence for other bonds? Something we should just keep in mind.
We'd have to research that, but, and please don't quote me on this, but I think in the past, we have a couple of 3 buildings in town
Okay. So
that's happened. But, again, I'd have to go back and look and research it.
So you could research that with Mary Beth, and she probably would be able to answer that question.
Darrell, there was one letter that we had gotten last week, and it was from Susan Henderson, the assessing assistant. And in there, she said, she has it in here, "You are the first person in Plaistow to apply for this easement." You know, so this would be the first from going for this easement.
Okay, I thought the one up on Sweet Hill had also applied for it.
Yep, and then a
Sweet Hill Apollo
couple
Road.
other things here, if, you know, it'd be helpful if, you know, we could know a little bit more about the history of the property, stories about the farm families, things like that. And then if we could get some photos of the exterior and the interior as well, so we know what we're kind of looking at.
Very good. Okay. There is no more comment. I'll close the public hearing.
Jay has
I'm sorry, Jay.
No, you can close the public comment.
I'll close it for public comment and close the public hearing at 7:22.
So what would our next steps be then with this?
What's that?
What would our next steps be?
I'm sorry.
What would the next steps be towards the easement? We're waiting for more information from Ryan?
We really need to know what it's worth beyond, you know, is that the tax for that barn, is that it? Was,
Right.
you know, I'd be looking to get from the assessor a little bit more
Yeah.
information about it. And,
And then I wonder if even, say, someone, you know, over the historical side, he may have some more information on it as well.
we can talk to Jim Pack and see.
Yeah.
if he-
So doesn't it say on the sheet, the assessed value is $28,900? Right, so wouldn't that be the assessed value? So we would just apply the tax rate to that to determine the amount of taxes that would,
That's, and it probably is correct, but it seems like this was a 720 square foot building
yeah,
with an assessed value of 28,900. Seems
high or low? or
Seems,
what?
it seems high.
Oh, okay.
You know? So I just want to understand and make sure that that's really what that was all about.
Yeah, it just shows, not much, it shows framed garage, attic unfinished. So we could actually ask the assessor the exact amount
Right.
the taxes went out for that property.
And I'll talk
And
to Jim
apply
Peck.
the percentage that Jay was talking about. What was it, Jay? 25 to 75?
Yeah, 25 to 75.
Okay. And if this is the first one, you set a precedence.
Right.
Yep.
Right, so we need to, if we were to move forward with this, we would need to set that value. I think it might be prudent for us to reach out to the tax assessor,
Right.
the assessing office, and see if there's any recommendations on how it's been done in other towns in the past on, you know, maybe she can recommend a percentage for us.
And
Yeah,
then
and
point,
I think we'll ask, like I said, we can get a hold of the Historical Society, we get Jim to weigh in on the building and,
and the one thing that's unfortunate, is vinyl siding on the outside of it, too.
right.
Yeah, and shouldn't we have some sort of criteria on what's actual barn? You know, how it's built,
Right. Well, that's
what
why.
it's built with, and
Yeah.
That's why when I look at the valuation of the 700, you know, square feet, that I want to question how that breaks out.
right.
Okay.
Okay. Hello?
Hey, it's Ryan LeBrecq again. Just to comment on the percentage, so 700 square feet and 28,000, that's, I think 10-12% of property value.
Okay, and we'll look into it, Brian. We've closed the public hearing, okay?
Understood, just wanted to make sure everyone understood that it's not insignificant.
Right.
But it's not a large portion of the total value either.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Okay, next up, it's at 7:40, and I don't know if we're expecting anybody in for the Memorial Day presentation.
Preparation.
What's that?
It's not presentation.
It's preparation.
Preparation, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've got to get something that'll keep my glasses from fogging. Where are we at as far as, Mark, can you let us know what's left or what we have left to do?
Actually, Beth is the one that puts this together every year, so she could answer your questions at this time.
Okay. Okay, Beth.
Yeah, I wrote out there's a sheet pretty much saying what we need, and then there's a draft program.
So kind of what you're looking for, Beth, from what I'm looking at, is a speaker and an MC.
Pretty much, yes.
And Greg, were you going to give the speech?
No, I am not.
Okay.
But as the new chair, you most welcome, you could volunteer
I
to
have
do
no
that.
problem doing that. I knew that you wanted to do it initially, so I'm just offering it up again, you know?
Yep,
Okay, then I will take care of it.
good.
Anyone else want to be involved in remarks as far as selectmen's go?
I think just one's probably fine, right?
What's that?
Probably just one speaker, I would think is fine, that's all it's
Okay.
probably being asked for.
You gonna speak?
Oh, Daryl's.
Well, we need at least one.
I'll
I
do
thought you were gonna
it.
be the
More than
MC.
one.
Yeah, what's that?
You were gonna be the speaker or the MC?
I'll do whatever, I mean, I'll give the speaker and I'll do the MC. It's up to you. If anybody else would like to be involved with this, I'd love to have them there. Would you like to do part of this? Jim? I mean, John?
Yeah, I certainly am gonna be there.
Okay,
Maybe it might make sense.
I would just, it looks like there's a good amount of speakers, so I think one speaker from the selectmen would be probably sufficient from us.
Okay.
I'm hoping to be there, so I'll know more later this week.
very good.
So,
Okay.
Daryl, it might make sense if you want to speak and maybe John, you MC. Or vice versa, where you're the chair and the vice chair.
Whatever, if John would like to do that, then I'm all for it.
I will be there that day, I'll make sure I'm there.
Well, when is it?
next Monday.
Memorial Day, Monday.
31st at
Okay, well,
8:45.
Things are subject to change. We'll be there. We'll get somebody to speak.
Okay.
Even if it's me.
There you go. Okay, Beth, so I guess we're ready. Any other comments?
That's what, we're gonna be over in Pollard, 8:45?
8:45.
And then up to the cemetery, and then we'll be at the cemetery around 9 o'clock, then it's back here for everything, right, just so the public knows what we're doing.
Right. Done deal,
So it looks like we should be back around Town Hall around 9:30.
I would think, yes.
That's what's according to this, so 8:45, we meet in front of Pollard. 9 o'clock, we'll march to the cemetery. 9:30 is when the memorial program will start at Town Hall. So the public knows what to expect, so they can also come and join us.
Okay. And is this being published in the paper, Beth?
It's already been in the Carriagetown News, it's on the website.
Okay,
It is mentioned on the sign out front.
okay, great. Anything else, guys?
I think that's about
Okay.
it.
Okay, discussion of COVID protocols for public meetings. I'm just going to open the floor up to this, guys. I know that we have something from our health officer that essentially said that she would like to keep things in place for another 3-4 weeks
Yeah.
to examine what's going on and to see where the state finally ends up. But I'm open to conversation on this, if anybody wants to talk about it.
I had talked to her today, and she mentioned keeping things, the mask mandate in the town hall for another 3 weeks. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm inclined to go along with it.
Yeah, well, that's still the New Hampshire guidance too, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, New Hampshire, you know, the governor may come out,
Sure.
say it's done, you know?
Yeah.
And I think at that point, this isn't cast in stone 3 or 4 weeks. I think if something changes in the next couple of days, it's something that could be revisited.
Yeah, we should probably get clarification for next Monday too, for Memorial Day. What her guidance is for that day. Where we're gonna be outside.
Yeah. All right. Mark, could you do us a favor and check with the health officer on what her protocol she feels is necessary for the Memorial Day parade?
Yes, and I was just looking through the attached sheet that she gave everybody, and I don't think it talks about outdoors, so I'll ask her what her recommendation is.
Okay.
And then we'll find out the answer about outdoors for Memorial Day and pass that along, and then we'll post it on the website.
Very good, thank you. Any other comments on the COVID protocols? Okay, we're a little ahead of schedule here, but I think we can, the next is the discussion of the award of the contract on the East Road Pump House. Mark, where are we at with that?
So I was in contact with New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, who also received that letter from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And their guidance was to not sign the award and not send in the aquatic mitigation resource contribution until we receive clearance that they anticipate we will receive within 30 days from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And to the letter that we received, they did tell me that this is not unusual since this project has been deemed a major wetland impact. But I sort of got the message from them that they're not surprised, this is not unusual, and that this too shall pass.
Yeah, it always does with the Army Corps. Sometimes it's not the way you want it, but it always does move forward, so. We may have to tweak it or do something a little bit more, but it'll get happened.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
So, to my understanding, there's no decision for us to make at this time, Mark?
Well, that's correct. And to that point, the notice of the award is just a formality because the project is funded by the water fund. And that's part of the state grant that I received for the town to bring potable water to the town in the amount of $10,112,202. So, you know, they put out the bid documents, they review them, and the formality is they approve the person as the lowest qualified bidder, and then they send the forms to us to sign to say, go ahead and award the bid. But there's no tax dollars involved from the town. But what I do, and what I've always done on all of these awards, is I've brought them to the board, just as letting the board know everything that's going on with the water project. But there is actually nothing for the board to approve because it's approved at the state level. So when I brought it to you, and there was this concern about the Army Corps of Engineers review, the board had said to me, well, don't go ahead and sign the award letter, contact New Hampshire DES and legal counsel. But what happened is New Hampshire DES trumped legal counsel because they already said, don't do it. Don't sign anything until this passes and then sign it. So I don't really need to ask the board for permission to sign it, but as water commissioners, I bring it to you. So, I really bring it to you for a consensus to go ahead and sign it. Of course, if you decide not to award the pump house, then there'll be no potable water to the town of Plaistow, because that pump house is the pump that's going to send the water into Plaistow. So I don't think you're going to say, don't sign the award letter, since it doesn't cost the town any money, but that's the board's purview.
I think that's a safe purview.
Okay. So I will wait until we receive clearance from New Hampshire DES and they contact me, and without objection, unless somebody has an objection, I'll sign the award letter when New Hampshire DES asks for me to sign the award letter. And then we'll send in the aquatic mitigation resource contribution, and then we'll get that refunded to us.
Mark, how far behind are we going to be?
Well, this 30 days is really going to put it on the construction schedule to be finished up in either February or March of next year. So not much, as long as the people, Lewis Builders, can rearrange their schedule for this delay of 30 days. I know that they were going to mobilize as soon as the award of the contract. So we're talking about, just a delay on the front end, which will then delay on the back end by 30 days.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments in regard to this? Okay. That being said, let's jump into the town manager's report.
So if Dee is there, if you would
She
allow
is.
her to set up the PowerPoint, I'll be getting to that as the last part of my town manager's report.
Okay.
So Dean, are you helping her do that now? Okay. So you've taken care of my first item on my report, the Rose Ave Town property, the landfill cover, cap and cover. We've filed all of our town staff is informed on the status of that project. The solar shed project, the contract has been signed and the invoice is received for the deposit for that project to start. I signed the papers for the Old Home Day race. We've had several meetings about the vision contract meetings. You received a copy of that correspondence in your package. I've met with Mary Beth Walker and Laurie Sadowitz and Attorney Kalman, so that is ongoing. The Highway Safety Committee met last Friday at the Public Works Building after a long intermission because of COVID. I included in your package, I don't know if it was both weeks, I think it was, if not last week, it was also this week, but they had a public hearing. And essentially, it's the last quarter mile of Route 125 on the northern portion of 125 at the Kingston Town line, that this project is part of a larger project, that this piece of a quarter mile would extend significantly into Kingston, and that the proposed construction is the winter of 23 into the spring of 24, and it's anticipated to be completed in 2026. So,
you can use
that's
arrow
for,
keys.
that's for your information. Was somebody asking me a question?
I don't think so.
Okay, I heard somebody. Okay, and there was some paperwork in your folder about past code enforcement, motion for contempt. It's an ongoing case that I came to the board with to, move forward with. It's actually a contempt of court on enforcing code enforcement in the town. So right now, I am ready to go into the Town of Plaistow Trash and Recycling Collection RFP. And Beth, have you handed out the books to everybody?
I just did, yes.
Okay, so tonight you have books with you, and I'd like to go through the PowerPoint presentation, which is good for the people that are watching, perhaps on the track committee and other concerned residents. So I will just say next slide when it's time. So I'll try to go through this fairly quickly, and the board can look through the book that I provided to you that has all these documents in it at your leisure. There's a bunch of questions in the book that need to be answered by the board. So next slide, please. So there is a table of contents. We can skip through that.
Mark, can I interrupt you just for a moment, please?
Sure.
Sergeant, I think we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mark.
No, no problem. So you can go to the next slide, Dee. Next slide. Next slide. So, next slide. So, notice to proposers, this is the language that's in the proposed RFP at this time. You can see it scrolling up on the screen. Standard language, language taken from other RFPs in the greater southern New Hampshire area. Next slide. So it describes all of the things that the Board of Selectmen and the Trash Committee have asked for to be included. It articulates the number of homes, a number of, residential homes, duplexes, apartments, dumpsters, and townhome buildings. And the proposal is for 5 years. Next slide. It talks about the town adopting the integrated solid waste management concepts, which is to reduce reduction, the source reduction to prevent waste, recycling and reuse, yard composting, resource recovery, composting, and the last option would be landfilling, which is where the trash might end up being. Next slide. So it talks about JRM being the current person that it has a 6-month extension, and also attached to the document, the proposed RFP for reference for people that would be interested in submitting proposals is the current JRM contract with the extension, so that they could look at what the current contract looks like. It talks about the approximate tonnage. Next slide. Talks about the scope of work. Scope of work, standard language about, trying to process and market recyclables. It talks a little bit about the size of the cart barrels for, which is a decision the town, the board needs to make is, there's been talk about using the 95 gallon for recycling and the 65 for trash. And there's been talk about, various things, people that barrels are too big and can they use different barrels? That's a decision by the board. Next slide. This just articulates about the specifications of the 5-year. That's just a proposal. It's up to the board. If you want to do 3 years with 2 1-year renewables, if you want to do 5, if you want to put any language in there, that's up to the board's purview. This is a draft document for the board, and this is a homework assignment for the board to respond back on what you like or what you don't like or what you want the final proposal to look like. Next slide, please. It continues with, what we're looking for the tipping fees and for the recycling. Some of the comments were made about transfer station access. If the company has a transfer station, the bulk item pickup events and pricing, And it talks about with regard to the RFP to have a mandatory pre-proposal meeting for the Board of Selectmen, for myself, for town staff, for the track committee, just so that you can articulate what it is that you want these people proposing to include in their RFP. And that there's a space there for a date to put in a date and time. The location can be at the Public Works Garage to accommodate, say, a large group of people. Next slide. Sometimes when you do the RFP, there'll be questions that come in from some of the people that are proposing because they want clarification. And what we do is when that happens and we clarify if something's going to change because of that question, in fairness to the other people, we share that question and as addendum, and we send out that addendum to everybody so that everybody has the same answers to the questions if they have the same concerns. And then everybody by the proposal date is turning in a complete proposal and everybody should be talking the same language. Next slide, please. So it talks about contractor qualifications, and it talks about, how long they've been in business and do they do this type of work in other communities. They have to be doing this type of collection in at least 3 communities. They need to submit us with a list of references. Next slide. They have to stay in communication with the town. They have to, acquaint themselves with the roots of the town. They have to articulate the days that they're going to be picking up. They have to submit a 10% base proposal with each proposal, a deposit. And if they somehow default on performing, then we keep the deposit. Next slide. And that's this slide here talking about that it becomes the deposit becomes the property of the town if they fail to fail to live up to their submittal. Next slide, please. It talks about 5 references. At least 3 of those from communities that are presently under contract for. Next slide. This is the part about talking about the routes and the maps and the street and what days of the week. And the design is to have 1 week for trash, let's say weekly trash, and then recyclables every 2 weeks. And it talks about roads, public roads and private roads, and how that will be handled. Involving the highway supervisor to determine, what's a private road and if it's applicable to having trash picked up like they currently are now. Next slide. This talks about if the truck breaks down, can they switch the trash out of the truck, and they need to notify the town. They need to, if they cause any damage, they have to be responsible for it. They have to clean up if there's any spills. There's no scavenging. That the truck will be, next slide. That the just standard language to protect the town if the contractor is dropping stuff on the streets, because that's been a common thing. We talked about, next slide. That's a collection schedule, weather conditions. They more or less what we do now is that we post if there's going to be a delay, we require them to give us the right notice. Next slide. It talks about the collection schedule with respect to holidays, which we currently do to let people know when the trash will be picked up when there is a holiday or a delay because of weather. Next slide. The route map, that has to be approved by the town. Next slide. They can't assign the contract unless we agree to it. We're not under any obligation to approve it. Next slide. So they have to prove to us that they have a place to dump the trash, the MSW, municipal solid waste, in either state of New Hampshire, state of Maine, state of Massachusetts, and they have to have proof, that where the trash is going and that they have access to it for the length of the contract. Next slide. It talks about the invoices and the payments. That's not an issue. We pay our bills right away. But there is one clause in there that I want the board, it's in red, so it's easy for you to find, but it's C. So how you want to word about recyclables. I need some clarification on what the expectation is of the board with respect to the recyclables and also, input from the track committee. Right now, there's not a market for them, or it's very, very skeptical right now. But I just need some clarification on language for the RFP with respect to how you anticipate the recycling will work in the future. We have some language in there so that we don't get hit with some fuel surcharges to try to prevent that from happening. Next slide. Customer service, toll-free number. We're lucky to have Beth on board. Next slide. We're lucky to have Beth on board that has been handling any complaints or any issues. We require them to give us inventory of all their equipment. We like to have late model equipment, and we like to know ahead of time, and we don't like vehicles to be older than 7 years. Next slide. The big thing with the type of recycling and trash curbside is they have these packer type trucks. There's a thing called the truck hopper plugs, and if they don't have the plugs in and you have water in there, it has leakage, and we get a lot of complaints about that. This contract tightens up that language that the truck hopper plugs shall be in place at all times, and if it's not in place and the drain holes of the hopper are leaking, then it is the responsibility of the contractor to clean up the mess. And that they need to be in contact with us, or we need to be in contact with them, at least by a two-way radio or some type of communications between town hall and the contractor, so that if we have a report of a spillage, we can get a hold of them and they can go clean it up. Next slide. And they're also responsible for having those cleanup kits on the truck, and their trucks have to be inspected. They have to prove to us that the trucks are roadworthy. They have to basically make sure that the trucks are emptied when they come into town, and that the only trash going to the weigh station after it leaves town is just from the town of Plaistow. Next slide. This is standard language about, safety equipment, and backup equipment if something breaks down. Next slide. Standard language for reporting. We want access to scale tickets. We want to, for each load, we want to know that the scales are certified. We want to have clarity as to all the trash, all the slips, and we want to be able to inspect this anytime we want, and basically surveil the vehicles if we want to, or whatever we need to do to make sure that there's no commingling of trash from other towns and the trucks are empty when they arrive, and they go, we have the slips that accurately represent the trash from Plaistow. Next slide. Insurance and bonding, standard agreements, 1 million, 5 million, and they have to name the town of Plaistow as additionally insured. Next slide.
Mark, could I interject a quick question?
Sure.
So in terms of the ability to be able to know that what they have inside the truck, and also, does that cover audits of recyclables actually being recycled at their final endpoint? And why I'm concerned about that is for our contamination charges, that we get charged extra when we have contamination, but we have no idea how much. I mean, they basically put the same number in our contract every single year. Does this contract allow us to audit these extra charges?
Well, that's a complicated question because to audit it, you'd have to probably be there every time there was a truck dumped at the recycling site and that somebody be there to monitor the percentage of contaminated. I do think that that's probably a subject for a pre-proposal meeting with the board to sit with those contractors and hash that out to come up with a solution. I'm not aware of how the language in the RFP can accomplish the monitoring and the contamination issues. So I don't have an answer for you. It seems like somebody would have to be assigned to review the recycling and to review the contamination, to understand how they determine what's contaminated, what's commingled, what's usable, what isn't. That's a big question right now. I don't even know what percentage of the recyclables that are even marketable at this time. And I suspect that over the next 5 years, that's going to change somewhat, depending on the demand. And that's why I say that that's a question for the Board of Selectmen to weigh in on the language that you want to see in the RFP. And it might take the board and the people sitting down with a pre-proposal to understand what it is that the board wants.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, quick question. We have a bid bond that's going to be there. But how are we bonding, how is it being handled, the bond on their performance bond? Is it?
It's coming
okay.
up. It's coming up as 110% that they need to have for the first year, so that we can make sure that they're going to comply with the terms of the contract.
Okay, great.
So there's two bonds. There's a proposal bond, and then there's a performance bond.
Okay.
Next slide. There it is, performance bond, 110% for the first 12 months and the subsequent 12-month periods for all its proposal. So I think that answers your question, Selectman.
It
Britton?
does. Yep.
Okay, next slide. Obviously, standard language, indemnification, making sure that people are licensed in the state of New Hampshire, make sure that the town is additionally insured, make sure we have all the certificates, make sure that they give us any kind of certificates or insurance or any kind of request that we need to make sure that they're operating legally in all areas, the vehicles, the inspections, the safety, the insurance, and so forth. A lot of language to protect the town. Next slide. So that is pretty much the outline of the four corners of it. And the next document, you want to go through the next slide, Dee? The next one was the discussion notes from last week. Curbside trash and recycling collection is included. The cart collection for trash recycling is included. The purchase of the carts needs to be decided by the board. That's a question called number 4. We'll get to that in a little while. Single provider for trash and recycling, that's included. Trash collection weekly, that's included. Recycling collection biweekly, that's included. 95-gallon carts for recycling need a decision from the board. That's board BOS board of Selectmen question number 5. Trash container size 65-gallon need decision from the board. That's question number 3. Interchangeable sizes. You need direction from the board. The discussion was the board was not sure what size barrels they were going to use for recycling, what size for trash. There was a lot of talk back and forth. I think I heard that the general feeling was to use the smaller barrels for trash and the larger one for recycling, but I just need some clarification from the board. I don't want to assume anything. Cost of buying versus leasing carts, need a decision from the board. Question number 4. Bulk pickup, revert to events during the year. That's been included in the RFP. Are carts covers interchangeable? The answer is no, with the different sizes. White goods bulk electronics pay as you go, included in the RFP. What color does the board want for the 95-gallon cots? That's a board decision. What color for the lids? That's a board decision. Has the board decided that we need to order, and that screen should say 3150, minor mistake. We thought there was 3400. It's actually the first order was, the number was picked at 3150. So 65-gallon cots, we need an answer from the board. The funding, how does the board intend to fund the purchase or lease of the 65-gallon cots? We need an answer for that. Is it the board's decision to use the 95-gallon cots for recycling and the 65-gallon cots for trash? Again, the lids are not interchangeable. Need a decision from the board. What color for the 64-gallon cots, lids and covers? We need an answer for that. What does the board want to include in the current JRM contract into the RFP and the new contract? So in other words, what do you like in the JRM contract that you want to include in? I think substantially we have it in there, but just in case you want to look through the contract, you can. Recommendations from the track. There was recommended, for 195-gallon cot for the household purposes for recycling. Those 3,150 95-gallon cots was a proposed purchase, and that needs to be confirmed with a color. We were holding off for a color, but no one's made a decision on colors yet. So the board needs to make a decision on colors. Recommended to the Board of Selectmen that there be curbside trash pickup with a cot model, but determined by a mailer. Has it been decided not to do a mailer? Another question for the board. Recommend to the Board of Selectmen to continue using cot contract for recycling, 1 cot per household by default. The Board of Selectmen, that there's an addendum, for the mailer about, the 65-gallon. That needs to be decided by the board, although the board has, I think, indicated that you're not going to go forward with a mailer. Next slide. It would be some utility in purchasing all the cots from the same company. Let's see. Next slide. So this is where we're at now. That's today. I submitted everything that I have to this date with all of the documents to the board. It's up to the board now to decide what you like in the RFP, what you don't, and then return that to me so that we can advertise. So that basically gives the board the month of June to do that. What we would like to do is July 1st, we'd like to put the RFP out and start advertising. We would hold a mandatory pre-proposal meeting on August 2nd. We would have any addendums to the RFP if there were any questions posed by the proposers, to add the addendums and send it out to all of the people interested. Then it would be followed by the receipt of all the responses on September 2nd, which is right after Labor Day. And we would tabulate everything and create a spreadsheet, and we would anticipate bringing it to the Board of Selectmen in September for a decision. And then we would hope sometime in September, we would notify the vendor. The contract would be negotiated and signed. And then the contract would start on January 1st, 2022. Something else I included in your book, next slide, is just some pictures of the cots, the description of the cots, the sizes, and the color choices. Next slide. This is just another from same company. This is the blue and the green on that color chart. And of course, you'd want to put the town seal on it. The proposed 95-gallon cots was $165,000. I'm not sure if that price still holds today. And this is a list of reaching wide and far of all of the companies that do this type of disposal in New Hampshire and in Massachusetts in a large radius. And that we would be sending out the package of the RFP to every one of these companies. I cannot tell you who will respond, that's what we're gonna do, is reach out to a lot of companies. So I'll take any questions from the board at this time.
Do we want to set a time aside, guys, to review these questions and answer them? Or do we want to try to do them individually? I mean, I think it'd be nice if we could just have a work session and get through them.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
would be good.
Okay. Let's, anybody have any particular days that are better than others, or
No, I think the sooner the
or do you
better.
want to just do it as a
Do it at the next meeting.
selectmen's meeting?
Do it at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Well, next meeting will be
That's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, so probably want to get this information
Yeah.
wrapped up sooner than
Yeah, we're
later.
running out of time here on it. We could take a hit at it next week. Is any day better than others for any of you?
Let's see, Tuesday? I don't know.
Next Tuesday?
Yeah, let's shoot for Tuesday if there's
Okay.
nothing going on here.
Greg, Tuesday work for you?
I'm not sure if there's a meeting on Tuesday for planning. No. Oh, Wednesdays, that's right, budget rather, but budget's on the
Budget's-
25th.
Budget's tomorrow. and
The
then-
budget's
Yeah,
tomorrow,
yeah.
and then that'll probably be it for a while.
Yeah.
So if Tuesday works, then let's schedule Tuesday, 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this a non-meeting, or like a workshop, or is this a meeting?
I think we'll just call it a meeting in case anything pops, okay?
I'm fine with that.
All right, so Tuesday, June 1st at 6:30?
Yes.
And I guess a question for the town manager, are you available to attend if, as the discussion progresses, if we have questions for you? Would you be able to attend?
Sure.
All right.
Perfect.
I will say this is great, this
Yeah,
packet.
great
so
report.
Thank you, Dee, and thank you to the town manager for putting this together. Pretty thorough. All on us to make the decision now.
Other questions?
Yeah, they're not too bad.
Probably a bike track to load, imagine.
We could. We want to have the track committee there as well?
You know something, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, to have their input there, because they've researched a lot of this, right?
Right.
Yep.
I think it's a great idea to have them there.
Okay. I can reach out to the chair and tonight or tomorrow and see if they can attend.
Excellent.
I'll make sure it gets posted either way, so as long as there's a quorum, it'll be all set.
Great. Thank you, Dee. All right, excellent.
Okay. I haven't read this yet, so I'm not going to take and put this out right now.
No,
No.
just
Yeah.
table it.
Okay, is there any other
D,
business
Thank you, Dick.
to come to the town before we go into non-public? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public. Yes, Jay?
Before we do that, I just wanted to bring up, I know the budget committee is revoting their appointments
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow night, so I just wanted to mention that. I didn't know if, we didn't have an opportunity last time for an opinion. I didn't know if anyone wanted to offer an opinion or just let it ride.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
So according to the policies of the Board of Selectmen. When we put people in charge of a committee, and they are ex officio member, and they represent themselves, we basically give them the responsibility to make good decisions, because we don't always have people for every single discussion, and then not have the involvement. So I think we can rely on, if a person is, and this board is representing the board at one of the committees or boards, that we would trust that individual to make good decisions, unless the board has already voted on something. For example, if we proposed a budget, then basically we would represent the board's budget. But in other cases, whoever is the person that's representing the board should be able to make decisions for the board. Like, for example, voting for 3 people to fill a 1-year slot on the budget committee.
I think that there's nothing wrong with what you're saying. I'm just saying that if anybody would like to have any input, this is the time to do it. So I'm listening to anything anybody's got.
I don't have any input.
Okay,
I was just throwing it out there,
okay.
that's all.
Okay, thank you.
So again, I'll ask, is there a motion to go into non-public and for non-public session under RSA 91A 311, public employee and reputation?
I'll make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3. Which one is it?
A 311.
Yeah. A311A.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes,
I'd like to know if that public employee or reputation is the town manager.
no, it isn't.
Okay, thank you.
But it is one that you would have to recuse yourself for, because you've recused yourself from it.
Okay. So would you want me to be at the meeting or not?
No.
Okay.
I get a second on that?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
We need, I
Aye.
think we need a roll.
Opposed?
Oh, you gotta pull.
Nay.
What was the
Mr.
vote?
Britton,
I'm sorry?
we're going to do a roll call.
Just get a roll call.
Go ahead.
Mr. Britton,
Yes.
Mr. Talion,
No.
Mr. Glenn,
Yes.
Mr. DeRoche,
Yes.
Mr. Coy,
Yes.